Commissioner Wood.
Hi, good afternoon.
There you are. Hello.
This work.
Good afternoon.
So glad to be here. So I'll just kind of lead with a confession that I'm going to give kind of generic testimony that's not really that revolutionary, but
Do I have to give you Miranda warnings if you're
it's okay.
happy to do that? Go
Uh,
ahead.
we'll leave that to the side for now.
Okay.
So I want to talk about trash. I mean, this is not a new issue. This is something that I, as the
I can't
commission,
help myself. So you're going to engage in trash talking, is it?
we'll get to that too,
Okay. All
if
right.
need be.
Carry on.
Let's leave it to the question and answer
Okay. Go
section.
ahead.
But I do want to discuss this because I mean, just as a resident, but especially as commissioner, it's something that comes to my inbox and just walking down the street, both visually seeing the conditions of the streets and also having people pretty regularly point out that this is just a really important need. I think the definition of granular governance, hyper-local governance is trash on the ground. And I think it's really important. It seems obvious, but as I think Councilmember Pinto and probably some others have pointed out, this budget doesn't necessarily reflect the investments that the city probably needs, if not just deserves, to make sure that we're clean. But I think that it goes beyond just being a clean city. I think that's important, but I think there's other factors as well. And this isn't to say we have to reinvent the wheel here. I think that DPW has a lot of the pieces in place that, at least at the service level, are designed to do the things that we need. There's trash collection, there's alley cleaning, there's bulk trash removal, there's removal of dead animal carcasses, there's leaf collection, there's graffiti prevention. That's just naming a few of them. And I think that we need to expand these. We need to make sure there's enough full-time workers. I think that we need to make sure that this is something that's invested, again, not just because having a clean city is a good thing, I think pretty objectively, but I think that there's some kind of deeper benefits. One, just physical safety, especially when it comes to things like leaf removal, when it's colder weather or when it's weather or both. If we have obstructing materials on our streets and sidewalks and trails and pathways, is a danger for people that are walking, people that are using wheelchairs, people that are running, people that are cycling, people that are driving. I mean, it can, especially when it builds up in certain areas, it can be quite a hazard. Also related to dead animal carcasses and even to trash, disease. I mean, I don't think it's a secret that trash is not healthy in most cases, and human exposure to that trash can become a health risk. But I think it goes beyond just physical health. I think that there's a mental health component here. And I know that researchers tend to indicate that seems to be the case, which is people having a clean neighborhood that they're proud of is good for our mental well-being, which has just reciprocating effects in all other areas. I mean, I can go on a long list of why that's a good thing, but I think the succinct version is having a good collective mental health is good for everyone and individually as well. And kind of related to that, community well-being. I mean, I say this as a commissioner who has taken part in a lot of community cleanups, that many of which I've organized. There are also many groups that organize them on their own. Last year, I even had the audacity to organize a cleanup with some commissioners that I walked from American University to River Terrace, about 11 miles, cleaning up trash with neighborhood groups. There's a lot of trash, but there's also a lot of just energy of groups that want to be a part of this, which the city should be doing a lot more, but also we have an opportunity to engage with these residents to a further degree that wants to be a part of their neighborhoods and to give them the resources, sometimes literally resources, to clean up trash with, as well as bureaucratic resources to be able to do that. That's not the fix. That should be a Band-Aid, I think. I think this is a municipal governance responsibility, but in areas where people are willing and able to do so, I think that it can be good for just building community as well. So I do want to point out as I close kind of two important areas when we look, where does trash removal and all these other services need to be sustained or improved? I'm an Adams Morgan, so I forgot to even introduce myself. I'm an ANC1C commissioner, which is Adams Morgan, and there's a lot of foot traffic here. I think those are areas where we kind of routinely see that there's a lot of buildup of all of these issues. And sometimes there's business improvement districts that kind of pick up that slack. They probably shouldn't have to. Also, sometimes overlapping, sometimes not, areas that are historically neglected for these services. I mean, it's kind of an old refrain, but it bears repeating. There are parts of the city, most of which are on the east side of the Anacostia River, but not entirely, that just don't see the same access to these services that other areas of the city do. We need to fix that. I think we have opportunities to do that. I think it's a good business strategy because we want to make sure that we're a fostering environment for growth as we kind of recover from whatever these last 2 years have been. But as a resident strategy, it's important because we just want to live in a nice place. And I even think from a governance strategy, it's important. If people are happy and feel supported by their government, just at this very basic level, it's a lot easier to get other things done as well, because we're not dealing with this issue that's really pressing on people's minds when you literally go out the door. So that's my thoughts. I'll close there. Thank you for your attention.